Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online, and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Here we have it, Tuesday morning, another big sell-off across the board for the Bitcoin mining stocks. We'll talk about this along with some key developments from Bitfarms and Hut 8 in today's presentation. This is the first day of Q4. We're kicking off October, as it's called in the Bitcoin community. This is historically a very strong month for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, and we're going to see if that trend continues in 2024. We've got a lot to unpack in today's video. Before we do, you know the deal. Smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel. Anthony loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below how you're feeling about the mining sector right now, your sentiment towards Bitcoin itself, and your price target for the final few months of 2024. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's update. Okay, guys, so that's right. Tuesday morning, another red day across the market for the Bitcoin mining stocks. That's okay, Anthony, because you and I are looking at this as a shopping opportunity. We're both going to be making some purchases this week based on this pullback. Anthony, a lot of geopolitical tension going on around the world. Bitcoin retreating slightly, just as Freedom by 40 predicted last Friday on the channel. So I will give credit where credit is due. Miners are red. How do you feel about this situation right now?
Well, the tensions in the Middle East seem to be developing, and you're rightly to mention that in the intro. I mean, Bitcoin will do what it does, but we've said before that macroeconomic events around the world also have an impact on Bitcoin price. So, as much as we'd like to say, Bitcoin's decentralized and nothing will affect it, that's not strictly true because people's actions will be based on what's happening worldwide. And therefore, their ability to invest in Bitcoin might be, changed when these sort of incidents occur. So, but we've seen these days before where Bitcoin has dropped and the miners are down in the red as well. There seems to be a little bit of recovery because Bitcoin went down as far as 61,000 and it's back up to 62,000. So, hopefully that drop, that freedom anticipated, is behind us. But we're moving into October today, October the 1st, and we finished positive in September. Therefore, there's every expectation that we should have a good 3-month run now, as in previous years, where September's been positive, October, November, and December have been really positive as well. So let's see if the technical analysis and that works for these next 3 months. But looking forward to it because we've got a big competition to win. There's prizes there that I certainly like one of those prizes. And I know you do as well, Bryce. So let's hope our picks are going to do well.
Most certainly. Now, because you mentioned the Miner Madness competition, I'll quickly throw up our picks on screen here. This is the first time we've revealed these. The competition starts today, so we want to make sure that our picks are on the table in time for the deadline. This is running for the next 3 months. We've got a number of companies stepping up to actually provide prizing and sponsorship. So a really interesting way to stay connected with the miners that you follow so closely. Now, Anthony, you talk about some of the pullbacks we've seen today, some of the geopolitical risks. If we bring up the mid-morning market update, red across the board, none of the companies at this point in time have crossed that negative 10% threshold, but we're definitely seeing that volatility we talk about in the mining segment. Are you seeing any correlation here between HODL, HPC, self miners? Anything stand out on this mid-morning update?
Not to some extent. I mean, it's right across the board. But if you look at the mine that's been least affected at the moment, it is Core Scientific. And looking at the 52-week range, Core Scientific, and then you've got the likes of TeraWulf are the 2 stocks that are closest to their 52-week high. If you look at the reverse of that and look at the companies that are closer to their year-to-date or 52-week lows, then you're looking at the likes of Riot, Gryphon Mining, CleanSpark, CIFR, Marathon. They're closer to the 52-week lows, and that's we've talked a few there about pure play Bitcoin miners. So the HPC story is there to stay. That was reiterated. I managed to speak to a number of analysts at the weekend actually during my visit to Sweden and asked them about where their interest was at the moment in terms of Bitcoin mining and HPC, and they were reiterating the conversation from their perspective at the moment is the business model for Bitcoin mining with the current price isn't that feasible in their eyes, but the HPC discussion is very much relevant. So we said before that this is a conversation today, and when the Bitcoin price does rally, the conversation will turn back towards the Bitcoin mining. But this is from the guys on Wall Street, and we've been reiterating this for a certain amount of time on the podcast. So we look to be aligned that way. But yeah, the stocks that have got an HPC business plan or actually utilizing that business in their current strategy are certainly doing better in 2024 than those miners that have said, you know what, we're going to stay pure play. But as I say, the price hits 130,000. I'm sure the pure play miners will be having their day in the sun then.
Yeah, they most definitely will. Now, a big factor in order for Bitcoin to get to 130,000 is buying pressure, and the ETFs continue to provide that pressure. So yesterday, Anthony, another $61 million net inflows. By my math, I believe that's 8 consecutive days and 12 out of the last 13 overall. It's going to be interesting today to see how the ETF inflows react to Bitcoin turning negative. Obviously, as Bitcoin's moving up, the FOMO, the inertia continues, people pile in. Now we've seen that reversal or pullback. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding here tomorrow. Anthony, in terms of the ETFs, we're seeing tremendous buying pressure here. Do you think this is going to continue all the way through 2024, or do you think we've already seen a lot of the pressure come into the market here?
No, I mean we've seen strong signs all throughout the year. There's not been that many red days. There was quite a bit of red days towards the end of August, beginning of September. That was the longest run of red days that we had. But I mean, like you say, 12 out of the last 13 days have been green. We look at September the 30th, where 61 million inflows. That's a lot lower than the previous 4 days. But 61 million represents nearly 950 Bitcoin, nearly 1,000 Bitcoin at today's prices. So um, that's twice the amount of the Bitcoin produced on a daily basis. So when you're taking more than has been produced, then you're expecting or you're hoping that people have got Bitcoin to sell. And if this carries on, then the only way the Bitcoin price can go is higher because you're into supply and demand then. And we know the likes of me and you, we've bought Bitcoin, obviously not to the level that the ETFs have been buying, but but we've been buying our Bitcoin. But I've not sold one Bitcoin last 4 years, or one part of the Bitcoin last 4 years. So I'm just holding it, and I believe, when we've looked at this before, it's like 70% of people that hold Bitcoin haven't moved it in the last few years. So there's not a lot of Bitcoin out there that people are actually willing to let go. So the more these ETFs buy up that excess Bitcoin and then hold on to it, that will give you an impact on the pricing because there's only so much more Bitcoin out there people are prepared to let go now. The price would have to rally, and then people might be interested in selling it. I know that we've said to many analysts, do you think you'll sell at certain points when it gets higher? And someone come back and said, yeah, they would so, but maybe not at 62, 63,000. But if it gets to 80, 90,000, there might be some selling pressure there. But I think this is a good sign. I think ETFs staying green for the majority of days every month only means one thing. It means that the available Bitcoin out there has been snapped up. And I'd rather, from my perspective, keep hold of mine because I can only see this going one way in the next sort of 12 months.
You and me both. Yeah, one direction. Hopefully it's up. And we now have the FTX creditor distributions coming back this week as well. I've read on X from a number of different credible accounts that they've talked to some of the creditors and they do intend on putting a good portion, if not all of that, back into Bitcoin or proxies. So it'll be interesting to see if that thesis comes true, Anthony. You're right, October. Every year that we've been going into an election cycle in the United States has ended up being green in October. All of those years have continued into November and December. So hopefully history will repeat here, Anthony. And that really brings us into the miners themselves. So two pieces of news today. First, of course, Bitfarms. It's the first of the month, always out of the gate, number one in terms of their production report. Now, the tail of the tape here, we had a great interview with Ben from Bitfarms talking about the settlement with Riot, the Paraguay expansion, obviously the stronghold information. We did push on the exahash targets. He said they're on pace for year end, but still not managing to hit that 12 exahash milestone, Anthony. Pushing back, I believe, from June now. So, what's your analysis on Bitfarms and the operational report for last month?
So yeah, there's some positives and some I would say not negative, but some people will be a little bit surprised that they've not reached that target. That target's important. It was there on the 30th of June as a target, 12 exahash. I mean, they got to 11 exahash, so they're only one away, but we're still 3 months later. We still haven't reached that 12. And if you look at how much their, installed hash rate is at the moment, the installed, end of month hash rate is about 11.3. And from that, Bitfarms give us their actual average operating hash rate for the month. So this is takes into account curtailment, um, when machines get turned down, so give energy back to the grid, or when it's less financially beneficial to mine Bitcoin. And then there's also things like, machines actually breaking down, getting repaired, replaced, maintenance, things like that. That will impact on hash rate. So their average operational hash rate for the month of September was 10.3. If you look what it was in August, it was 10.4. So that's actually dropped zero point 0.1 of an exahash. The one big positive news, though, is the fleet efficiency. So bear in mind, we have to go back that many months where Bitfarms was actually showing 35, and it was probably in terms of efficiency, the lowest efficiency of all the miners, the poorest efficiency of all the public miners that we look at, and there's 15 of them. Looking at that today, that's down at 21. So they've actually achieved their year-end target already. So that's a really positive thing because if you think about the efficiency, that helps them mine Bitcoin cheaper. They're obviously got what they've obviously done in the month of September is they've replaced a significant amount of machines without growing hash rate to get that efficiency down. That's a big drop. That's a 20% drop in efficiency, effectively for or close to 20% for the month of September itself. In terms of what they mined, 217 mined, they sold 173 of that, so they've added to the hodl. The hodl now is about 1,147 Bitcoin, and that's got a valuation based on the end of September pricing. So this is the 30th of September close, a valuation of just over $72.6 million of a hodl. Um, on top of that, they've got a sizable cash balance as well. So they've got what I'd say is a really good treasury position, and that should get them to where they need to be. But yeah, so there's some good parts of the update, and some I think a few retail shareholders maybe a little bit disappointed that they've not achieved that target. They are expected to deliver that target in October itself because they've announced that 10,000 T21 miners that were going to be scheduled to go to Paraguay are now being shipped to Stronghold mining facilities, where until the deal is finalized, it'll go through as like a hosting deal for Stronghold. But bear in mind, there's already agreement that Bitfarms have taken over Stronghold and all their assets, and that will be finalized probably in the first quarter of 2025. So until that physically happens, there's an agreement to host. That 10,000 T21 miners gives them an extra 2.2 hash rate, and they're expected to start installing those in the next couple of weeks. So from my perspective, that assumes they'll certainly get, heading towards 13, 14 exahash by the end of October. And then that gives them another couple of months then before they've got to start meeting this target of 21. But bear in mind, the 21 exahash target was always reliant on Paraguay, and they're building a significant facility down there that won't be ready until December. So the emphasis is on that facility getting completed. I think what they've done here is they probably move some miners quickly now to Stronghold to get that hash rate up quicker, because if they had to wait to install all 8 exahash in December by the end of the year and get the target, then people would have that sort of like constant sort of when they haven't reached a target here. And so it looks like we might even get a mid-month update from Bitfarms say we've got the 12 and we're heading in the right direction. So Ben came on last week and he reiterated 21 was doable. And hopefully, they don't let us down, because this is, Ben's in his you know, first 3 months now as CEO, and there's been a lot of positive things that have happened in that 3 months. So he'll be wanting, as much as the retail investors, to get that hash rate where it needs to be. So the positive thing, I really like the fact that the efficiency. If you look at last month, there's only one miner's got a fleet efficiency lower than that, and that's IREN. We're expecting CleanSpark to announce, probably when they put their announcement out, they'll be certainly around about the 21 mark or under 21, because they've just been putting new machines into some of these new facilities they've been buying. So that'll bring their fleet efficiency down. But you're talking, top two, top three efficiency of all the mining fleets. So that's a real positive. That'll keep the cost down of Bitcoin. And they already have reasonably good power costs anyway. So that's a good position for Bitfarms to be in.
Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Yeah, really a great update from Bitfarms in terms of the fleet efficiency. It's going to be interesting to watch that metric as they continue to deploy those next generation miners. The other note in that press release, Anthony, at the bottom, a single bullet point stating that they've resolved their issues with the former CEO as well. So obviously Jeff Morphy had a lawsuit or pending lawsuit against Bitfarms. That's now been resolved. So one other, distraction off of Ben and the team at Bitfarms back, moving in the right direction there, Anthony. Now, you mentioned we had Ben on the channel talking about the settlement with Riot. We also have Jason coming on this week on Thursday, so we'll get their side of things in terms of the settlement, growth outlook, and production. We're hopeful for the month of September. In addition to that, Anthony, Sue Ennis from Hut 8 Corp also booked in the following week, so the 10th of October, to give an update on Hut 8. They came out with a big announcement today as well in relation to some debt repayment, knocking off $38 million worth of debt, or taking a sizable bite out of their existing debt on the balance sheet. Can you give us an update on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. What you remember is, Hut 8 and USBTC merged, getting close to a year ago now. So the end of 2023. And what Hut 8 had, they had a great balance sheet in terms of the Bitcoin, in terms of very little debt. But USBTC had all the facilities, access to power, but they were carrying a bit of debt on their balance sheet. So when they look at the joint mergers together, the joint company, Hut 8 Corp, as it's known now, do have a significant amount of debt on the balance sheet, certainly over 300 million. And so today's news will be a relief to some shareholders, the fact that they're starting to look at ways of how to reduce that debt. And that was the update today is positive in the ground that it's reducing debt without having to use cash. So they're actually going to be issuing shares to replace this debt, and the shares are going to be issued against the outstanding loan at a price of $16, nearly $16.40 per share. And this represents a premium 51% on the 20-day weighted average price through September, which is the day prior to the signing of the debt repayment agreement. So a positive outcome. I mean, it gets the debt now closer to down towards like 300 million mark. So I'm sure we'll be getting more updates of what's happening there. We've seen other miners who've had significant debt on the balance sheet, and bear in mind this debt on Hut's balance sheet isn't hasn't got the same levels of interest rates that some of the other miners had, where they were really forced to sort of choose. I mean, Hut do have the opportunity to remove that debt in one go because they have a significant balance of Bitcoin, well over 9,100 coins at the last update. So that's a significant amount there. That's close to $600 million in terms of just Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So they could wipe the debt out in one go. But that debt might be useful if it's low interest rates there. It's useful for the company. And we know with the Bitcoin, those that hodling Bitcoin, the expectation is they believe that's going to go higher. So maybe they may be thinking, let's see how this run with the Bitcoin goes, and we might be in a stronger position to sell some and pay some more of that debt down there. But we have seen the likes of Bitfarms and TeraWulf, who both had significant debt positions, but it was at higher interest rates than what Hut are paying, and they reduced theirs down to zero over a fairly short periods for both of them, like 12 to 15-month periods. So I think Hut are in a stronger position now because they've got the balance sheet to do it. They've got the Bitcoin, and they're thinking, probably the strategy is the Bitcoin price where it is now going to be there at the end of the year. I don't know. I haven't seen any entries from Hut 8 in the competition, so it would be nice to have one of those there and get their side to it. But I don't see it as a big issue. I think today's a positive update. It's a step in the right direction, and maybe we see more of these types of updates as we go on.
Totally agree. And nice to see such a good premium built into the share price if you are going to dilute or issue shares to offset the debt. So I thought that was a good move as well, Anthony. I'll throw it back to you for any closing thoughts. The market seems to somewhat be bouncing here a little bit. Some of the miners starting to make a move back, Anthony, but still a sea of red out there. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
As I say, I don't tend to. I haven't looked too much today at the prices. I listened to some of the podcasts with Freedom last week. I was away on a trip to see some facilities. But I listened to what the technical guys say. I don't zoom in as much as I did in 2021. I think most people in 2021 who just got into the space were sort of like, checking price every 5 minutes. I've got out of that habit. Once you've gone through like a full cycle or at least a couple of halvings, then you start realizing that it becomes part of the norm. Bitcoin price it is volatile. It is volatile by 3 to 5%. So on a daily basis, it can move quite significantly. And the miners are even more volatile. They could be like more volatile by 8 to 15% on a daily basis. So, and we've seen that. We've seen miners change. It was a 50% in a day, and down 50% in a day as well. So, that's what keeps people interested. But I don't tend to look at the price all the time. It's, you know, we've just reached the 1st of October. September was a great month in terms of Bitcoin price for the whole month, but there were times in September where the Bitcoin price was dropping. It dropped down to 54 and then finished the end of the month at over 64,000. So, it did rally during the particular month. And we'll expect to see the same again in October, November, December. I'm expecting it to finish, certainly closer to 90 by the end of the year. That was my sort of prediction of the competition. And I think the average price was it something like 96, 95,000 was the average from all the entries?
Right between you and I, you had 88,888. I had 99,999, which I think you copied my format, and
Yeah.
they came in right in the middle, Anthony. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out with that. And you talk about your travel last weekend. We also have Amsterdam coming up. We both head out there Saturday. We're going to be in Europe for a week, Anthony. So we'll be doing some interviews, some podcasts on site, recapping our experience, listening to speakers, obviously interacting and meeting guests and different fans of the show as well. So that's going to be great. And we'll be back here for a regular podcast tomorrow, you guys. So thanks so much for watching. Great day to top up any positions you feel maybe you're a little light on, and don't let the market scare you off with any of this FUD. Bitcoin does what Bitcoin does. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.